Welcome everyone to this session. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. So if I give you a little bit of background about myself, I'm a former languages teacher, as has been said, taught for 13 years at secondary school level, or K-12, as you would say in the States, and then 10 years at middle school level, working with 9 to 13-year-olds on the Isle of Wight, which is where I live right now. And I've lived here for well over 20 years. For the last 13 or 14 years, I've been an independent languages consultant. I've traveled all over the world, speaking at conferences and doing training in places like Australia, New Zealand, North America, South America, all over the Middle East, and also in Europe as well. So it's really lovely to be here. And as we know, AI is a very popular topic at the moment. So I'm going to be showing you some practical ideas on how we can use certain AI tools in the classroom or by teachers to save time when producing resources. If you want to put questions in the Q&A, we'll do all the questions at the end. If you desperately want to put something in the chat, you can do, but as has been said, please use that sparingly because I'm going to be focusing on the presentation. Okay, so thank you so much everyone for coming along today. And for those people watching the recording, thank you so much for finding the time to watch the recording as well. So what are we going to see today? I've got 6 separate points. We're going to look at an introduction to AI in language education. So it may be that you're brand new to using AI, that you don't really know what it's all about, and you're interested to find out more, which is perfect. If you have been using it for a while, then I will try to suit everyone's needs with my introduction. We're going to be talking about the ethical use around hallucinations, which is just a posh way of saying the fact that the AI can just make things up sometimes, known as hallucinations, how it can produce biased content. So we need to check everything for accuracy and for bias. And a very, very important point, age appropriateness. So most tools, you have to be 13 or above to use, and you need to make sure that they are compliant with national regulations and state regulations wherever you are in the world. The next point is the importance of still using publishers for creating content and using content. So in other words, it may be that you can produce, let's say, a worksheet or a lesson plan or what have you using the AI, but it's not the same as the quality that you get from a published resource. I'll be talking about that more detail later on. And then, as I said, we're going to be talking about some practical examples of some AI tools that could be used for resource creation. I'll be doing all of that live, so hopefully the tools will behave themselves and work properly. We'll then look at some ideas around interactive AI tools for student engagement as well. So different types of tools there. And last but not least, we'll be having a conclusion and a Q&A. I'll be also sharing a few opportunities for you as well at that point. So that's what we're going to try and do in our time together. So to start off with, we're going to start off with an introduction to AI in language education. Okay, so to begin with, when we're talking about artificial intelligence, we're normally referring to what is referred to as a large language model. So large language models are essentially like a big database, if you like. And the way that they work is you feed into it a huge, huge data set. So that data set is what the large language model uses in order to see patterns in the questions that you put to it, or prompts, as one says. And then by recognizing patterns, it tries to guess, in inverted commas, what it is that you are looking for as an answer. It's a bit like it's been described before as a sort of like a freestyle rapper, in the way in which you will get a different result every time you put in a prompt or generate a new answer. You'll get a different result, and it's a question of choosing the output that you like and then adapting it and checking it for bias and for accuracy and what have you. So probably the best known large language model is ChatGPT, which belongs to OpenAI. And what OpenAI did was they scraped huge amounts of content from the internet without consent, I must say, and fed that into their large language model, and then Another term that we normally say at this point is natural language processing, or NLP for short, which essentially means that you can talk to the large language model as if it is a human being. So the natural language processing is that whole recognizing patterns in the data set and then trying to give you an answer which it thinks that you want. A little bit like autocorrect, but on a whole new level. So the fact it's a large language model is great news for language teachers, because it means that it can do lots of things very, very well. For example, it can create a whole range of different types of text, like lesson plans, like multiple choice questions, etc. More of that later. But because of the data set that's been fed into it, that will have natural human biases in there. So you need to be very careful whenever you get the large language model to produce anything, that you do check it for accuracy and for bias. And you need to be very careful if you're using it with students that they are, one, old enough. They need to be 13 or above in most cases. Always check the terms and conditions and the privacy policies of each tool. And you must say to them, they shouldn't be putting in personal information, even if they are above the age of 13 and they have parental consent. In the case of, for example, ChatGPT, you need to have parental consent between 13 and 18. They need to make sure they don't put in personal information. You can turn off this option in ChatGPT, which I can show you in a moment, but this is very, very important. Now, in relation to prompt engineering, there's a real skill to it, I think. This is a framework which I find particularly useful by Dan Fitzpatrick, who's also known as the AI educator. I'm just going to come out of my presentation and show you this live. So this is like a larger version of this. So you can see that it's a mnemonic. So essentially, you've got things like P for prompt, introduce what you want. It can be very, very easy. You can sort of talk to it as if it is a human being. You can simply ask a question, etc. You can give it a role. We'll be looking at that in more detail in a moment. Being very explicit with your instructions is very important. You don't need to say things like please and thank you. You can just be very, very explicit in what you're asking it to do, and then hopefully you'll get the results that you're looking for. But if you give it a general prompt, you're going to get a general answer. So it's the old adage, rubbish in, rubbish out, essentially. And then having parameters is also very, very important. So if you're wanting the LLM to produce a language lesson plan, then what you'd have to do is you'd have to make sure that you put, for example, the age of the students, the topic, different elements, maybe a range of tenses, those sorts of things, different aspects of the lesson plan that you want. That's the parameters, which again are very important. The A, ask it to ask you follow-up questions. I've never done that personally, but that might be quite fun to do. Ask it to rate its response. Again, I've not done that either. This idea of appealing to its emotions is quite fun. Apparently, if you say things like, it would mean a lot to me if you could get this right. Apparently, that will produce better results as a result of that, which is quite amusing. It's quite fun to do that, I must say. And then the edit section, once you've prepared your prompt and you've got some results, then, as I said earlier, evaluate the strength of the response. That's incredibly important. Determine accuracy and corroborate. Identify any bias or misconceptions, and then update content. So this is a nice starting point, I think, but you've got to really just find your own way with it, I would suggest. And then the second link is this one. This is quite nice. This is just a very, very simple scaffold. And the way that it works is you just fill in the different elements, like act like a. So that's when you are putting in your role here. I need a, so it could be I need a lesson plan. You will create a lesson plan for me on, let's say, the perfect tense in French. In the process, you should. So this is the idea of, adding parameters, etc., etc., etc. And what it does is it will put all the information into a prompt for you, which you can then just copy and put straight into ChatGPT. That's the idea. Okay, so I think that you should find that useful as a starting point for what is known as prompt engineering. But it really isn't that difficult. You just have to have a play with it, and you get used to what a tool like ChatGPT, or there's others, of course, Google Gemini, there's Claude, and so on and so forth, Copilot. You just get used to what each LLM can do well. Okay, so moving on to maximizing educational impact with AI and publisher expertise. Again, this is a really, really important point. which is the following. Two main sections here. Valuing the publisher expertise. So it's all very well being able to produce content very quickly using an LLM, but will it be one, accurate in the way I've talked about already? Will it be pedagogically sound? Because clearly, these resources that publishers produce, they are written by experts who've been teaching for many, many years, whereas a tool like ChatGPT is really just sort of mashing words together, as it were, and trying to find some sort of coherent text, which can do a good job, but it's not the same on the same level as someone who's had years of experience producing a published resource. And obviously, the whole idea around creating culturally sensitive content, that's also very, very important. You can certainly, with an LLM, either with text or with images, you put in a prompt and it can give you very sort of stereotypical or biased results. So you've got to be very aware of that as well. And then second point, AI is an enhancement, not a replacement. So AI tools complement publisher content, adding interactivity and personalization while upholding quality and reliability through rigorous curation. So I think that idea around reliability is really, really important. So you can absolutely guarantee that with a published resource, it's going to be high quality, it's going to be all checked and quality assessed and what have you. And you just won't get that in the same way. It's not to say that it won't be useful to use an LLM, but it won't work in the same way. So we don't need to forget about publishers at all. Now that we have AI to help us, we can see it as an enhancement, not a replacement. Okay. So now what we're going to do is going to go into the practical section of the presentation, looking at AI tools for resource creation. And as you can see, I've decided to focus on 4 different tools: voice control for ChatGPT, canned replies, Defit, and quizzes AI. So I've got this all set up for you already. So the first one we're going to look at is called voice control for ChatGPT. This is a Chrome extension, which I've got open here. So as you can see, you just go to the Chrome Web Store, either in the Chrome browser or in the Microsoft Edge browser, if you prefer. And once you've added it, you simply click on the blue button here, which if it's not been installed already, will say get. You click on that, it will then install it onto your machine. So it only works in the web-based version of ChatGPT. If you're looking for the equivalent for the app version of ChatGPT for iOS and for Android, then you have the little headphone icon bottom right of the screen, which launches what's called voice conversations, which works in a similar way. So once you've installed voice control for ChatGPT, then all you need to do is just load ChatGPT, which I've got here. All I have to do is, there we are, press enter, and it's going to then launch for me. And you'll see bottom right, once it's finished launching, there we are, that the microphone icon is there. And that's because I have voice control for ChatGPT installed. Now, I was going to say about how you can turn off the data being sent to OpenAI, which is the following. You click on your settings here, you go to settings, you go to data controls, and this is the button that you need to turn off the option for sending anything you put into ChatGPT to OpenAI. It does mean that your list of chats is no longer updated. It's just archived, not deleted, just archived or paused. So once you enable it, if you wanted to, it would then carry on updating the list. So in other words, it's up to you to choose whether you send the information to OpenAI, but as long as you are careful in what you put in, not putting in personal information, I made the decision to enable that because I want to see all the chats that I've had. Okay, so having done this, all I have to do now is I can just use voice control for ChatGPT, and I could do something like the following. I could say, I am an A1 level learner of French, and I would like to practice my conversational French with you. I would like you to play the role of a waiter in a French cafe, and I only want you to speak in French with me, and I will only speak in French with you. Are you ready? Okay, so it's now going to, there we are, it's answering me in French. That's fantastic. And if I click here, you can see there's a whole range of different languages which I can access. I'm going to choose French in French, and I'm going to enable the text-to-speech icon. So that means it will now hopefully speak back to me. Let's give it a go. So, bonjour, je voudrais un croissant et un café, s'il vous plaît. Okay, let's see if it's going to play ball. Okay, here we go.
Bonjour. Très bien. Un croissant et un café. Voulez-vous votre café noir, ou avec du lait?
Je voudrais un café au lait, s'il vous plaît. So if you're not a French speaker, I'm just asking for a white coffee.
Parfait. Un café au lait et un croissant. Ça sera tout pour vous?
Pour mon croissant, je voudrais de la confiture à la framboise, s'il vous plaît. So I'm asking for raspberry jam with my croissant.
Je pense qu'il y a eu une petite confusion. Vous vouliez dire pour mon croissant, n'est-ce pas? Alors, de la confiture de framboise pour votre croissant. Bien sûr, je vous apporte cela. Auriez-vous besoin de quelque chose d'autre?
Okay, so this is quite amusing. So it thinks I said croissant, not croissant. So I'm just going to double check. J'ai dit croissant, pas poisson. Okay, that should be okay now. There we go.
Ah, excusez-moi pour la confusion. Donc, c'est bien noté, un croissant avec de la confiture de framboise et un café au lait. Je vous apporte ça tout de suite. Avez-vous besoin d'autre chose?
Okay, so you get the idea. So by using voice control for ChatGPT, you can have a conversation with the LLM. So either you could use this as a way of producing a worksheet, maybe, or what you could do is you could potentially, with consent, you could do a live demonstration in class, asking one of the students to play the role of, say, in this case, the client in a restaurant. Now, the next extension I'm going to show you is called Cant Replies, which is this one. And I'm going to use this in conjunction to the example I'm showing you right now. Now, you don't have to use Cant Replies, but I find it very, very useful for collecting all my prompts in one place. So I'll explain how it works. You need to install it first of all. And then having installed it, you click on the jigsaw piece. This is in Chrome, but you've got a very similar setup in Microsoft Edge. And what you do is you then scroll down to where it says Canned Replies, and you click on the pin here to make sure it goes blue, and that means it then pins along the extension bar. Please don't judge me on the number of extensions I've got open. There we are. So that means now it's available here. If I click on this, then this then comes up, and I click on the plus icon, and it will then show me all the different prompts which I've got ready to go. So the way that it works is you put in your title of your prompt here, and then you put the body text for the prompt here, and you click add. You can have up to about 12 prompts per list. And what you can do is once you have got all the prompts you want for a particular session, you can click export, and that will allow you to export the results as a text file, or officially it's called a JSON file, JSON. And then you can save that wherever you want to save it. You can export as many different prompt lists as you want to. And then when you want to import one in to a session, you click the import option, you select that file, and you just import it in. And you must remember to click save changes. And then if you want to then remove some items from the list, you simply click delete and delete, etc. And then you can then, that won't change the original file. It will just mean it will remove that from the interface, as it were. So that's how you can organize your prompts. And as I say, you don't have to use it. I just find it really, really useful. And then if you want to be able to use this with ChatGPT, you need to enable the right-click option, which is enable permissions, which you have to do in the Chrome extension as part of the installation. Okay, so let me show you how it works. If I go back to ChatGPT and I go to a new chat, it so happens that when I right click, can you see here, I've got access to two prompts. I'm going to show you this one first. This is, I've called ridiculous conversation, and it's going to basically do the same thing that we did a moment ago, but this time, instead of giving just a one answer, it will give one sensible answer and one ridiculous answer. So it's the same scenario. I'm practicing my French. I'm asking ChatGPT to play the role of a waiter in a French cafe, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to send this message in. It's answered in French, and now I'm going to enable the text-to-speech, and I'm going to choose French again. So it's going to give me a silly answer and a sensible answer. Here we go. Bonjour, je voudrais un café et un croissant, s'il vous plaît. So I'm asking for the same thing, a coffee and a croissant. Here we go.
Bonjour. Bien sûr, ça sera tout pour vous? Bonjour. D'accord. Un café et un croissant. Voulez-vous aussi adopter un pingouin?
Okay, so the waiter's asking me if I want to adopt a penguin for some reason. So let's carry on. Je ne veux pas adopter un pingouin. Je voudrais un café et un croissant, s'il vous plaît. Okay, so I don't want to adopt a penguin. I want to
Très
adopt a
bien.
croissant.
Un café et un croissant. Je vous apporte ça tout de suite. Compris. Un café, un croissant, et un petit kangourou à emporter.
Okay, so this time the silly answer is understood, a coffee and a croissant and a little kangaroo to take away. So you get the idea. It's just very, very silly. So again, this could be, I think, a lot of fun in looking at the sensible answer and the silly answer and to work out why it was silly and, using that humor to decode, I think would be very, very engaging. So you could either use it live, as I said, or as a way of creating an interesting worksheet. So hopefully that's nice and clear for everyone so far. The next tool we're going to have a look at is called Defit, and then we're going to look at Quizzes AI. So with Defit, if I show you this one, there are three main sections. You've got the literally anything. This is when you can write a topic in here, and you can choose the reading level and the language. You can click here, whereby you put in an article, which could be a web page or a URL of a YouTube clip, for example. And then this option, you can literally paste in a text or upload a PDF file for Defit to then turn into a resource. So it so happens I've got a YouTube clip here ready to go, which is Little Red Riding Hood in French. I'm going to go to Defit and I'm going to click on the article or video option and paste in the URL like this. Having done that, I then can choose the grade level that I want. So you can see it goes from second grade to 11th grade. So let's go for 7th grade. And for the language, I could choose any topic, any language I wanted. Let's go for Spanish, I think. I suppose the obvious thing would be to go for French, but I don't want to do all my examples in French. So let's choose Spanish, which doesn't seem to be there for some reason. It's, oh, there we are. It's right at the top. So it's going to create a resource in Spanish at 7th grade level. And all I've done is put the link in. So all I have to do now is click generate resources. What it will do is it will give me a summary. It will give me some multiple choice questions. It will give me some vocab items. It will give me some open-ended questions as well, just from that one URL. So what it's doing is it's harnessing the transcript from the YouTube clip. If you didn't know, most YouTube clips have transcripts that come with them. And it creates an image here. You've got some other images which you can choose. Instead, you can see there, but I'm just going to stick with this one. And then if we go down here, you can see that it's got the text there in Spanish, an adapted reading passage aimed at 7th grade. It's got a summary. It's got key vocab words, multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and open-ended prompts. Now, you can add either, for example, a prompt here or add questions here, but that's part of the premium tier. So for free, you can do all of these things I'm showing you right now. The show sources one, I think, is really, really useful. Now, obviously, there's just one source here, but if I'd chosen the topic option and asked it to create a text for me, if I clicked on show sources, it would have given me the 6 or 7 sources it used to create the topic. A similar tool is called Perplexity AI, which is like a search engine which will, again, write you a paragraph as a result, but it will also give you the sources that it used to find the result, which is really, really useful. That's Perplexity AI. So having created this resource for free, the next thing you can do is click Get Student Activities. Now, this is part of the premium version, but I'm going to show you anyway. You can see here that you can create different types of Google Docs, Google Forms, and lots of different types of Google Slides presentations. So let's have a look at, let's do this one, character analysis. I've not done this one before. So I'm going to click on this right now, as you can see, and I'm going to click Get Activity. So just again, based on that transcript, it's going to generate the activity for me. I'm just given permission for my Gmail account to work with Defit, which is fine. And it's now going to, there we are. If I click continue, it will then start to create the presentation, as you can see, and it's doing all this magic in front of us, all live, generating the activity, and I can't wait to see the results. So as I said, this one I've not done before, so it's going to be interesting to see what it comes up with. For those people working in a Microsoft environment, don't worry, you can export the results as a PowerPoint as opposed to a Google Slides presentation. There we are. Can you see? You can download it as a PowerPoint, download it as a PDF, share it to Google Classroom if you want, but I'm just going to click on Open Google Slides to show you how it works. And there we are. You get this teacher instruction page ready to go. And then from there, you get all these beautiful slides, which are going to start appearing, as you can see. And there we are. Just to prove we're doing it all live. So as you can see, you've got image analysis, notice and wonder. You've got the key vocabulary. There we are. Now, even though we've chosen Spanish, you'll see that this text here is in English, but I believe that one of the questions that people have been asking to Defit is, can you make it available so that when you choose the language, for example, Spanish, that all of this will be in Spanish as well, which I think would be very useful. So you can see the character says, the character feels. So I think maybe for Little Red Riding Hood, that could be particularly interesting, and so on and so forth. So you can see the questions here are in Spanish, but lots of the rubric is in English. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how it works. And then the next one we're going to look at is called quizzes, which I've got open here. Everything I'm showing you, by the way, is free, apart from if I've said, for example, that some features are premium features. So the Google Slides export is a premium feature. This is called Quizzes AI. What I'm going to show you right now is free, but there are some premium features as well. So with Quizzes AI, I've just installed it. I then click on the pin tool, so it then appears here in my extensions bar. And all I have to do now is go to a YouTube clip, or I could use a web page for this as well. But I'm just going to use the same clip. I'm going to click here on the Quizzes AI extension. I can choose the grade level here. So I could choose, for example, grade 7 again. I could choose the number of questions. I can include the video clip in the quiz, and I can click generate quiz. This works very well with videos that are no longer than about 5 minutes or so. So that should be fine. It's doing the magic now. I'm literally not doing anything. It's just harnessing the transcript, and it's going to then generate the activity. A similar type of tool to this is called TWEE, TWEE. So do check that one out as well. That's also aimed at language teachers. So that would be something else which you'd like to see, I'm sure. It does give results in English, but you could always put that into, say, ChatGPT and ask it to translate it into another language. So that's no problem at all. And it can make things like multiple choice questions and true or false and so on and so forth. But this one we're doing right now, Quizzes AI, it will make multiple choice questions. Again, you've got to check it for accuracy, as we're doing right now. There we are. I've included the video clip. So you've got to check it for accuracy. This is all in French, which is lovely. So if the transcript is in that language, it will produce the text in that language, which is good. And then from there, all you have to do is click publish like this. You give it a title. So we'll call it Le Petit Chaperon Rouge. Okay, making sure I spell it correctly, like that. And then everything else we'll just leave it as it is, and you click publish. Okay, and you're good to go. You've got an activity then that can either be done as homework asynchronously, or you can do it live. I don't have time to do it live, but you can see how it works. Okay, so those are some ideas on AI tools for resource creation. Voice control for ChatGPT, Cam Replies, Defit, Quizzes AI. The next thing we're going to look at is interactive AI tools for student engagement. And I'm particularly excited to show you these tools here. We're going to start with Mizu, then look at Padlet, then look at Adobe Express Animate from Audio. And I'm going to try and build a chatbot live in front of you. So we're going to go to Mizu, which is designed for education. If you see here, this will give you a flavor of the sorts of chatbots that people have been making at high school level, at middle school, and even at elementary level here. And I love the way it says Mizu does not use chat data from students to train AI models. No login is required for students, which is just fantastic. So do have a look at the privacy policy. It says it's FERPA, COPPA, and GDPR compliant, which is wonderful. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you the Explore feature. You can just search for a topic here, a keyword, you can click on subject here, such as foreign languages. Again, you can go through and have a look. You get a flavor of what this is all about. But because I don't have a lot of time, I'm going to click My Chatbots, and I'm going to create one live in front of your very eyes. Okay. There's also some nice video clips here, tutorials here that you can have a look at to help you. So let's click on Build a Chatbot. I normally go for this AI generated option because it's really quick and easy. That's all you need. So I click on AI generated, and then I have to come up with a learning objective. And it so happens I've made one already in Cant Replies, which are called Mizu. So as you can see, it says, I want to create a chatbot which plays the role of a waiter in a French cafe. I only want to speak in French in short, simple sentences at A1 level. I want it to be kind and understanding. I want my students to practice ordering food and drink from the waiter. I then choose the grade level. So let's go for 8th grade this time. And then you click Get Ideas. And it's now going to start generating the ideas. It's given me this perfect role play. Normally it gives me 2 or 3 options, but it's going to do what I've asked it to do. So I click Generate. It's now building the chatbot as we speak. And again, you've got here some AI instructions. I can click Generate, and that can then generate some more instructions for me. It's generating a picture. It's decided that the waiter is going to be called Pierre, which is cool. And it says, you are Pierre, the friendly waiter at a cozy French cafe. Students will practice ordering food, etc., etc. There's Pierre for us. I click on the more options here. I normally just click generate all fields. So that's going to create a welcome message. It's going to create the rules, which I can adapt as need be. With the knowledge file option, that's part of the premium version, but everything I'm showing you so far, you can do in the free version. You've only got 2 separate voices. So I'm going to choose John, and it's going to make a thumbnail now. There we are for the chatbot image as well. Okay. And then for the subject, I'm going to choose foreign languages. Okay. So that's all good. And then I'm going to click publish, and I'm going to keep it private and click confirm. So having done that, you can see literally it took, a couple of minutes. It's now publishing it. And then I click here where it says new session like this, and that's going to generate this option. I click personalization. Again, I can choose the grade level, which I've done already anyway. All of this I've done already, so that's all fine. And the tools, again, that's all fine. You don't get the timer or the rubrics option unless you pay. So that's fine. I'm now going to click new session, and I'm going to click launch. Here we are. Okay. Are you ready? This is very exciting. So having clicked on launch, it will then give me the next option, which is the link. This is what you give to the students. So all you have to do is click copy. And now I'm going to go to another browser, Microsoft Edge, which I've got open. I'm going to paste in that link, and I'm showing you what the student would see. Okay. So here, all I have to do is put my name in. So I could put a name in, or a code, or student 1, or whatever it is that I want to put in. And then I click start session, and we're then going to start right now. Okay. So it's opening up the session. French cafe waiter. There we are. I can listen back to the audio like this.
Bonjour. Welcome to our cozy French cafe. I'm Pierre, your friendly waiter. Let's practice ordering delicious food and drinks in French together. Allez-y.
Okay, so you can hear that the French accent is it sounds like an American speaking French, but let's see what happens now. This is the text. So this is the speech to text option. Bonjour, je voudrais un café et un croissant, s'il vous plaît. So I'm asking for the same thing. It's now transcribing what I'm saying. I can listen back to it. I'm just going to click on the tick, and it's going to now appear. There we are. It's done a very good job. So it's a croissant, not a poisson this time. That's lovely to see. And here we go. It's now going into the chatbot, and the chatbot is now going to reply. If I were to use more simple language, it would reply more simply to me, which is a really nice differentiation feature of Defit. Here we go.
Très bien, Joe. Un café et un croissant. C'est un excellent choix pour le petit déjeuner. Autre chose?
Oui, je voudrais un café au lait, s'il vous plaît, et avec mon croissant, je voudrais de la confiture à la framboise. So I'm asking for the same thing. I'm asking for a white coffee, and I'm asking for raspberry jam with my croissant. There we are. Again, it's done a very good job transcribing. So let's see how we get on now. Here we go. Okay, let's listen back to that.
Parfait. Un café au lait et de la confiture à la framboise avec votre croissant. C'est noté. Vous avez fait de très bons choix. Ça sera tout pour vous.
Oui, merci. Est-ce que je peux avoir l'addition, s'il vous plaît? So I'm asking for the bill now. Let's see how it responds to that. And send. It's always fun to see what it's going to say. Here we go. So,
Bien sûr, je vous apporte l'addition tout de suite. Merci pour votre commande et j'espère que vous avez apprécié votre temps ici.
okay, perfect.
À bientôt.
So that's all good. I'm very happy with that. If I click end session, that's great. I then minimize this. And if I now refresh the page in Mizu, it will show me that there is a student that's taken part in the activity. There we are. So if I close that and I click here, I click here, not only will it show me the whole transcript, as you can see. So as a teacher, you can get to see everything the chatbot has said and everything your students have said. It's even given me some feedback, which is pretty phenomenal. And you get that as part of the free version. So the student successfully engaged in conversation with the chatbot, demonstrating a good understanding of French by ordering the food it drinks correctly, etc., etc. So do have a look at that. It's absolutely wonderful. Okay. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is the I Can't Draw feature in Padlet. I'm just going to double click on the screen like this. I'm going to put my name here and just move that out of the way. I then click on the three dots and it says I can't draw here. Can you see? I can't draw. So this is AI text to image. So I'm going to write an elephant playing chess in the rain. Okay, it's just a random sentence like this. And it's now going to create 4 images of different elephants playing chess in the rain. So you could put in any vocabulary items and it will create a bespoke image for you. Oh, that's good. I'm going to choose this one. So it's now going to populate the post. I then click publish like that. Okay, there it is. I can then click here to make it go larger. And I could then, if I wanted to, I could use a tool like Snip and Sketch like this, which comes with Windows. I then click on the new option. I can then literally just take a screenshot, screen grab like that, click save, and I can then save it wherever I want to save it. So this is great for vocabulary generation. Lots of ways in which you could use that. Okay, the next one is here, Adobe Express, animate with audio. You can choose the character really easily. So you could choose any of these. Let's be a carrot, I think. Let me resize the carrot like that. You can then choose the background. You do need to have an account for this. There we are. That's perfect. And you can choose the size as well. So that's, you could use a Google account for this. You could use an Adobe ID as it's called. And now all you have to do is record. So let's go for it. So this is a free tool called Adobe Express Animate from Audio. You can record up to 2 minutes per presentation. You can then download the results as an MP4 file and then embed that into a tool like Book Creator or Padlet or Google Slides or PowerPoint. This could be particularly useful for the shy students who don't want to appear on camera and they want to appear as an avatar instead. In this case, a carrot. Okay, so I did that really, really quickly. So you can see it's now uploading it. There was also the enhanced audio option, which is another AI feature, but it takes a little bit longer to render. So as I don't have lots of time now, you get the idea. And what will happen is the voice will be lip synced with the character. So each character has a different set of animations. It's lots of fun to do, and it's really, really easy to create content in this way. So you don't need an account to create the video, but if you want to download the video, you do need to log in. So what some teachers do is they just record the screen, however you want to do that, using a device, and then they just save that as a separate video. So in that way, you don't have to have an account. And hopefully this is going to work right now. There we are. If I press play, you'll get a flavor of how this works. So this is a free tool called Adobe Express Animate from Audio. You can record up to 2 minutes per presentation. You can then download the results as an MP4 file and then embed that into a tool like Book Creator or Padlet or Google Slides or PowerPoint. This could be particularly useful for the shy students who don't want to appear on camera and they want to appear as an avatar instead. In this case, a carrot. Okay, there we are. And I could change the start point. and the endpoint of the video as well. And again, you just click download if you want to download the results of the video. So there we are. So having looked at a number of different tools now, I'm going to quickly mention a couple of opportunities for people. I run a Facebook group called Language Teaching with AI. It's completely free to join, and there are over 3,000 members. So if you fancy joining, we've got French, German, Spanish, English, Chinese, Japanese, the whole range of different languages potentially that people are teaching. So if you want to join with other people who are also interested in exploring what you can do with AI in languages, then feel free to join. And if you would like some more training on the use of AI, do get in touch with CLET, World Languages, suggesting what you'd like. This could be a district-wide, it could be a department at K-12 level, at university level, anywhere in the world, and CLET can organize that. Get in contact, as you can see here, pd@cletwl.com. Conclusion, I suppose I've sort of touched upon this already, but as I was saying earlier, we went through what a large language model is, so hopefully that's demystified it for you. I would regard it as a type of playground, if you like, so just have a play and see what it can produce. You pretty quickly you can get a good experience on what it does well and what it doesn't do as well. We talked about different practical tools such as Mizu and Defit, etc. So again, just choose one or two of those, have a play with them, see what you think. I also really reiterated the importance of publishers and the fact that they do have content which is quality assessed, which is produced by experts that have been teaching for many, many years. So potentially some content that LLMs produce could be, pedagogically suspect. So always, consider using publishers as well. It doesn't mean that publishers are no longer to be needed. Quite the opposite. They're going to be even more important, I think, about having that sort of benchmark of quality, the gold standard, if you like. And I really appreciate everyone putting nice comments in the chat, and do get in touch if you'd like to know more. So this is the presentation as a PDF. So if you want to scan that QR code, you can get that. And my understanding is everyone's going to be sent that as well. So if you're watching the recording, just scan the QR code. And I think for the feedback form, there we are. That's the feedback form. So we'd encourage you to fill this in. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to see in future CLET World Languages webinars. I'm sure that the CLET would find that really, really useful. Any sort of feedback that you have around the session. And I think that's probably it for right now.
First question we have is if you recommend the paid version of ChatGPT, and what about other tools? Like, what would you prefer? Free, freemium? Is it paid? Because of course this cost can add up very quickly for teachers. And in general, about the apps that you showed, what is the price and the possibilities to use it?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really important point. And I think obviously teacher budgets are limited. Personally, I've decided to pay for ChatGPT. So I do use the premium version, which works out about $20 per month, which personally I feel is useful and is very effective. I use ChatGPT literally every day. The main differences with ChatGPT, the paid version, you use what's called ChatGPT 4, which is more powerful from a computational point of view. It will hallucinate less, so it will make up things less, which is obviously great to see, although you can do a lot with 3.5, which is the free version. You just need to edit it a lot more, and you can't always get access to it because sometimes it will say that you've reached capacity or you've done too many messages in a certain period of time. Whereas with ChatGPT 4, you can basically always get access to it. You can also do other things such as generate images, which you can do with ChatGPT 4. Though you can do that with tools like the Cant Draw feature in Padlet, or Adobe Firefly, or Microsoft Designer image generator. So there's other free ways of generating images. But in general, the fourth version is more reliable, more accurate, and it doesn't hallucinate as much. There are other language models out there, and I would really recommend people do try them out. I particularly like Claude, which is Claude AI, that's CLAUDE, because it allows you in the free version to put in more text in one go compared to ChatGPT. So, for example, you could put in a long transcript. I put in transcripts which have been even as long as an hour, and you can put that in from, say, a YouTube clip, and it will then generate a very nice summary for you. I've also used it for things like making show notes from a podcast interview episode where I've got the transcript, I generated the transcript, I then put that into Claude, and it generates a really nice set of show notes. So it really depends on what it is that you're trying to do. There's also Google Gemini, which does have a paid version, Google Gemini Advanced, which I've not used personally. And there's Copilot as well, which does give you access to ChatGPT 4 for free, but some people say it's less reliable compared to the ChatGPT 4 from OpenAI. So just have a play, have a look at different ones. And then in relation to tools like Defit, I personally would recommend the premium version. I think it's really fantastic. There's other tools like Twee that I've mentioned, Mizu. Everything I showed you with Mizu, you can do for free. If you want to pay, you can get the other options, such as the knowledge file, etc. So what I would do if you're, let's say, head of department or head of a school, that you simply ask your staff to have a play with the different free versions, then do some teacher voice with them, ask them what they think about the ones they would like to use with the premium versions, and then consider carefully what to budget for, because I appreciate you can't get the paid version for all of them, but it may be that you feel that you want to pay for example, Defit, Twee, or Magic School, which is another very popular tool for saving time aimed at education. So have a play, have a look, and you'll find the way through. I think you'll discover which ones are worth paying for.
Perfect, thank you. Our next question would be regarding Mizu. So apparently, can it actually play back or not the whole conversation? And also, can the teacher hear the student's voice?
That's a really great question. The answer is no, you can't play back the whole conversation. But what you could do is you could copy the whole text and put it into a tool such as naturalreaders.com, or you could use a tool like with Microsoft Word and other Microsoft tools. You get a tool called Immersive Reader, but it also comes as part of the Helper Bird Chrome extension. So you get Immersive Reader within that, and that will allow you to read back any text on your screen. So it work perfectly in Mizu. That would be fine. That would be a way in which you can have a model of pronunciation of the whole dialogue, as opposed to being able to listen to each individual utterance that the waiter has said. And then in relation to the audio, you'd have to obviously you'd have to check with Mizu. They were happy for you to do this, but you could potentially record the screen and then extract the audio that way if you wanted to have an audio copy of the whole dialogue. But really, it's not really designed for that. There will be hacks of achieving that, but if you want to have a model of pronunciation of the whole dialogue, using Immersive Reader or Natural Readers would be the way to go, I think.
Perfect. Then, by any chance, Joe, do you roughly know when Claude is going to be available in Canada, for example?
I have no idea. I suggest that you get in touch with Claude about that and ask them. So just to be clear, with Claude, I'm using the free version. The paid version is about the same as ChatGPT. I think it's about $20 per month, which I've decided at the moment I'm happy just to pay. The only one I pay for is ChatGPT 4 because I just use it every day. But everything else, I either use for free or I cheekily get in contact with certain organizations and say, I don't suppose I could have a premium account, could I? So you could try that as well. And some of the times they say yes, which is great. But the one I've only actually paid for is ChatGPT 4. So I don't know about, in relation to Claude in Canada, I know that Canada are very strict about privacy rules, etc. So there may be a reason around that. I don't know. But you'd have to just get in touch with the people behind Claude and just ask them.
Great, thank you. Also, have you used Gamma for presentations?
I have used Gamma. So if people don't know, there's various ways of creating presentations using AI. There's Gamma, there's Tome, Tome. There's for example, well, the way I normally what I normally do is I normally generate an outline which I paste into Microsoft Word, and then there's an export option in Microsoft Word in the online version to PowerPoint. And then that then kicks in PowerPoint Designer, which allows you to then choose the slide format. It will generate images based on the text. It will automatically, by using AI, it will see that the text you have in the presentation slides, it will then generate images for those. And that's like a starting point. And then from there, you can then edit it accordingly. So when I've used Gamma, it has produced nice results, but it's quite limited with what you can do for free. There's also Almanac as well, which is another tool, a little bit like Magic School, but one of the features in it is it allows you to generate presentations using AI. But personally, if you're using Microsoft Office online, then I think that using your LLM to produce an outline in Word and then export into PowerPoint is the easiest way to do that, because it's then unlimited. You're not limited by X number of presentations per month, etc., as you are with Gamma.
Perfect. And also, have you tried to teach AI?
Sorry, can you say that again? Have you
tried? I think this is an app. Is teach.ai.
I don't know that one, but I can check it out. Yeah, I've tried lots of them, but I haven't tried that one. So, in fact, on that point, what I would recommend, if you ever come across a tool that you don't know how it works, etc., I would use the tool Perplexity that I mentioned earlier, Perplexity AI, and just put in the name of the tool and say, could you write a tutorial about this? And what it will do is it will find the sources from, say, YouTube or web pages, either from the company itself or when people have done reviews, and it will then put together a tutorial or a blog post, or whatever it is you want to write there and then for you. And it gives you all the sources that I talked about earlier. So I, for example, with Mizu, I asked Perplexity to create a guide, a tutorial, step-by-step tutorial on using Mizu. I then literally went through each step and I tweaked it a little bit because it had hallucinated a little bit, or in my opinion, it had hallucinated a little bit. And then I had this fantastic text tutorial, which I could then share with participants in my webinars, etc.
Thank you. Also, we have a next question, which is, how would you deal with apps that requires the students to sign up? Would you still ask them to use the apps, or do you have an alternative?
That's a really important question. So as I talked about earlier in relation to age restrictions and privacy policies, so one, I would look at the privacy policy in the terms of service for every single tool I wanted to use with my students, potentially make sure that they are, for example, 13 or above, make sure that I adhere to the AI policy of my school. If you don't have an AI policy in your school, then I would suggest that you need to encourage the person in charge of that to write one. There are examples and exemplars available on the internet to help you with that. And I'd also make sure that any tools that you're using were compliant with things like FERPA and COPPA and GDPR, depending on where you are in the world. That's why I like Mizu so much, because it seems to be absolutely designed to be used in education. And they've said they're compliant with those three main national policies. So I think that that's a really important question. And I think it's in a way a gray area in lots of ways, because everyone's on catch up. Everyone's, getting used to all these different tools which are coming out thick and fast, but always change the terms of service. For example, there was a tool that was Tutor Lily, which again is a bit like Mizu, is good for conversation practice, and it said that you had to be 18 or above to use it, and then they changed it to 13 or above. And I also got in contact with them via direct message, and I said, are you GDPR compliant? And they said, yes, we are. But again, Perplexity AI is very good. If you just say, is such and such a tool GDPR compliant or COPPA compliant, because it will search the privacy policy and terms and conditions there and then for you. And it will also check out some other sources such as reviews, etc. So it's a really, really useful tool to get what you're looking for straight away. And it isn't affected by the algorithm that Google uses in, say, Google search. So it's worth checking out.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Our next question is, if students' input is grammatically imperfect, how does the conversation go?
That's, again, great question. So in my experience, AI seems to deal pretty well, even if grammatically the sentence is not brilliant. For example, in relation to Mizu, if Mizu sees that the level of language being produced by the students is not of a certain, of the expected level. Maybe in the prompt that you put in when you set it up, it will automatically change to make it simpler, give simpler answers to any prompt that comes up to support the students. So that differentiation is built in the very clever workings going on in the back end for Mizu to make sure that it will work as well as possible in an educational context. So yeah, in my experience, it will cope. I suppose if you were to write something that just didn't make sense, it would say in a very polite voice, you seem to have confused two ideas here. I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to say. So it will always say it in a very gentle and kind way, and then you would then hope that the student would then react positively to that, or it could highlight maybe a gap in knowledge, or the student would have to ask the teacher, etc., why it wasn't producing the resources that it was hoping for, and it may be a misunderstanding that then. So it's like a learning opportunity, really. I would say in summary.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So we're gonna do our last question, which is, how do you see education in 10 years from now in public schools with foreign language classes?
Well, I think anyone that tries to predict the future is somewhat foolhardy. I have no idea what's going to happen next week, let alone in 10 years' time. I would imagine that AI will be integrated with every sort of tool that we're using, even if it may not be obvious. I think that rules around data and consent and copyright, I think, will come to the fore. I think that's already happening at the moment. I could imagine that using voice with AI will become commonplace. So instead of writing on a keyboard, we'll just be using our voice. That's almost happening. Well, it is happening now already, but I think that will become more adopted. Possibly we might be seeing ChatGPT in the form of robots. Apparently that's already, like a prototype, or it's already been announced by OpenAI that there's like a robot that can speak in ChatGPT language, as it were. So I think it's all going to move in that direction. But who knows? I mean, it's going so quickly. It's almost like it's described as an arms race in AI, really, of trying to be a winner as opposed to a loser if you're an AI company. And no doubt there's going to be lots of companies that are going to go by the wayside because they just are not finding that secret sauce. But the ones that are going to be successful are the ones that are going to make their tools really, really easy to use and have a generous freemium version as well, because as has been said earlier, you can't pay for everything. So, but at the same time, if people don't know, every time you put in a prompt, depending on how intricate the prompt is, it uses a certain number of what is called tokens, and the company has to pay for these tokens. So if they were to have everything for free, unless they were huge like Microsoft or Google, they would go out of business. So they have to have it free to start off with, get an audience, and then they have to have some sort of paid tier in order to survive. So it just depends on how generous the free tier is going to be for how many teachers are going to use it. And of course, with students using AI as well, I'm sure that will become very commonplace, but we're not quite there yet. And that's why it's so important to talk about age restrictions, about privacy policy, about compliancy with national and statewide rules. So I can't stress that strongly enough for anyone watching this. Do check out the privacy policy and the policy in your school on the use of AI.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Joe, again, for this amazing webinar. It was completely needed. Everyone was super interested. So thank you for all your knowledge. And thank you, everyone, for being here with us.